All right, everybody, seems we are just right on time. Welcome to another OpenLM webinar. I hope you can all hear me. My name is Branislav Potocek, and I'm leading OpenLM's support services and IT departments. And today I would like to talk to you a little bit about something different, something we haven't done this type of a webinar yet. It's probably going to be a little bit shorter one, but should be interesting. And I'm sorry if you are just here for learning something new, but this will be also a small PR piece showing you what we've been cooking in the last couple of weeks and months, and where we want to go with OpenLM's offering for the professional services. But before we get to the PR piece, I would actually like to talk about the topic for today's webinar, which is called Software Asset Management for Engineering Applications. And as you may have inferred from the title, it's going to talk a little bit about why the SAM for the engineering applications is important, how does it differ from managing your regular software contracts like Microsoft or IBM, and maybe a little bit of dive into what I think is the future of the licensing models for engineering. Whether, is it going to stay the same? It's been the same for many, many years. The networking model has been leading the charge in this field, but I do think personally, that it's actually going to move forward. There's been many changes in the recent world, and I would like to discuss a little bit about that, and maybe a small presentation of what I actually think when I say managing the engineering applications. So what's the content for the presentation? First is the SAM, Software Asset Management. It's the buzzword of the industry in the latest years. ELP, the effective license position, which goes towards the SAM, which every SAM manager is actually very familiar with. How the SAM works in the engineering license world, future of the license models for engineering, and then wrap it up with talking a little bit about OpenLM as the software asset management for engineering service provider. We are trying to dabble a little bit into the professional services, into the managed service model. And I have already spoken about it in the past, why it's important, why I think it can work in many cases. So elaborate a little bit on that. So without further ado, let us begin. So software asset management, the buzzword of the industry. If you have been working with the field, if you have been working as an application owner, or you've been working in the purchasing department, or maybe even if you are a finance controller, you would have realized that in the past years, the software assets management has become an integral part of the whole asset management portfolio that the companies and corporations are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And I know that several years in the past, the hardware was being viewed as the key spender, as where the money goes as far as the assets go. But in the later years, the software has become an integral part of this as well, because many of the companies realize that software is actually one of the key budget spenders. That's A, and B, software can also be a huge compliance risk, especially if you are not managing it properly. Even though the companies around the world started to look at software asset management, started to dabbling in the SAM, in many cases, the focus still remains on the primary biggest contracts that are there for the companies. And that's, of course, the Microsoft or the IBM or the Oracle, because the spend is the biggest one. Microsoft, it's all around us. It perpetuates our day-to-day jobs, whether you're working with MS Office or you are running on Windows, or your server team is based on Windows Server operating system, or you have your cloud in Microsoft Azure. Microsoft is the biggest spender, and there is no denying that. And IBM and Oracle, they just go hand in hand right behind it. But that's not all. The engineering licenses are also important, and I know that in the recent years, more and more companies actually started to realize that it's not only about what I call the core IT contracts. It's also about the engineering licenses, and that the engineering licenses have equal value, and they can be equal big spenders when it comes to your software budget or the overall IT or engineering budget. And it's important to manage it. So how do we manage software? The ELP is another buzzword that is being thrown a lot around. What does it mean? Why it's so important? So ELP is an effective license position, and it has become a standard measurement to look at how your software is doing, how your licenses, your applications are doing. And I know that in the engineering world, it's not something, you know, that's been mentioned as often, but I will show you, I will talk a little bit about how can you actually apply the ELP to the software world, because there are key factors when it comes to creating a proper effective license position. So, and what does it actually do? It is there to target the cost optimization and compliance, and these two things go hand to hand. Of course, from my perspective, I would actually say that the compliance is more important, because if you are not compliant and you get audited, then you are in trouble and you can face hefty fines. But we know that the management, they prefer to look at the cost optimization first, because, you know, that's where you can actually get the money right away. If you can make the contract costless money, if you can reduce your license portfolio, you can get some of the maintenance money back, or you can lower the subscription so the cost is lower. This is something that the management actually sees directly. Whereas when it comes to audits, and we do have a separate webinar talking about software compliance, so if you want more details, you can actually go and view that or attend that when we do another one. Compliance, in my perspective, is extremely important. For the effective license position for your standard contract, like Microsoft or Oracle, the high-level comparison always goes between the entitlement, which is on one hand, which is what you have purchased, what you own, what you are contractually obliged. And on the other hand, it's the deployment. Since most of these contracts don't use a technical limitation on how much licenses you can use at the same time, especially if you are working for a bigger company. You probably have your own Microsoft licensing server, and you just need to abide by the contract, but nobody is really checking on a day-to-day basis how many Windows machines have you deployed, or how many SQL servers have you deployed. You can deploy as many as you want, but you should really remain within the scope of the contract. So that's how it works for the standard contract, for the core IT contracts like Microsoft, IBM, Oracle. But how does it work for the engineering applications? What's similar and what is different? There are key things that are similar, and I think the ELP, the effective license position, is still the way to go, but you are not focusing 100% of looking at the deployment and the entitlement, because the deployment, as you know, if you've been working with engineering applications, it's usually not something that you really need to look at, because the network licensing system, which is still very prevalent when it comes to engineering applications, actually usually by default prevents you to actually use more than you have. So the vendors, the software vendors, have to come with other things, how to actually catch you. I'm gonna say catch you. They can catch you doing something wrong, and these usually come from the contractual obligations that are defined within the contracts. So you can, because let's look at CATIA or Teamcenter or any of the key players like Autodesk. If you are using the network licensing model, nobody really cares how many installations you have on your premises, on your network, in your company. You can install as many CATIA installations as you want. You can install it on every computer in the company. It doesn't really matter, because you own some quantity of licensing and licenses, and in the network concurrent licensing model, well, you are not going to start more instances that you actually own. So the deployment is not a problem. What can you look at? What can you look at? How can you optimize in this case? The primarily focus is on the usage utilization. You can, by extension, also do some license harvesting. That's like the second step in the optimization of the engineering SEM licenses. So that's mostly about that. That's the key. There are, like I said, there are the similarities and there are the differences. I don't want to have a webinar where we don't show the OpenLM tool as it is, so I'm going to show it, and you probably are familiar with how the tool looks like. So this is the OpenLM frontend, again, actually running on the latest version of our OpenLM cloud. I wanted to use the cloud presentation for this demonstration, since it's something that we actually like to show up to our customers, because it's nice and it's working pretty well. So what do you do when you measure the licenses for your engineering applications? And again, if you want to see a deep dive on the reporting functionality of OpenLM, you can go and attend the webinar that's called Core Functionality, which actually is tailored directly to that. I'm just going to show some basic reporting here that you can see what to do. What does the license manager do when he's monitoring this application, when he's looking to actually optimize the cost of his applications? So the first and foremost, what he does, he's going to look with the networking model on the peak versus quantity owned. So we can see in the report that we do have some quantity that is owned by us. In this case, we are showcasing that we do have 70 licenses for AutoCAD Mechanical, and we can see the utilization. So let's say that I'm a license manager and I'm responsible for AutoCAD, and I need to know how exactly are my different Autodesk applications doing. So I'm looking at AutoCAD Mechanical in this case, and I can see that, yeah, at the beginning, the utilization was not really there. So I was way over licensed, and that could have done something about it. But at the later point in the time, what actually started to happen, that my utilization started to rise. So I can see that, yes, I do have more and more users utilizing the product. Actually, at the end, I'm actually hitting the quantity owned. So it's even possible that I may have some denials, and I may need to purchase more licenses. This is the first and foremost basic step that you can do when you are looking at license utilization of an engineering application that is running on the networking model. And again, this is a very, very simple and high level overview, and I just wanted to bring it up so that we can see some nice graphs. The second step would be to actually analyze what is happening. And OpenLM does have another report for that, which is called license activity. And as you can see, I clicked into the specific portion of the graph to actually see, so what is going on. And in here, as you can see, the data is encrypted. In here, I can see the different users utilizing the application. Here you can see the feature name, which is AutoCAD Mechanical. And I can see for how long they had any sessions, when did they work within the defined time frame. I can group them by. I can see if I can see any suspicious behavior. It's not loading. I'm sorry about that. So the second portion is actually analyzing what your users are doing. Is there anything that is suspicious? Do we see that there is a single user who is running 2-3 copies of the software on the same machine, or do we see a single user who is actually launching it from 3-4 machines? So we can make an informed decision when it comes to the licenses, because if you have been working in the field, you would know from experience, nothing is as it looks on surface. And even though I may see 100% utilization on the license usage graph, there usually are users, who are doing something troublesome on the back end, and we can make the licensing a little bit more effective. The second portion that would actually concern me here is looking at the denial. Since I see that the graph is actually hitting the peak, I could also go ahead and check the denials. I don't want to make this meeting too much about actually showcasing other types of graphs. Like I said, it's supposed to be a shorter webinar, and it's the first time that we are actually doing this type of webinar concerning the engineering license management. So let me get back to the presentation and talk a little bit about the future. So what I think is going to happen, what we see already that is happening within our customers and with the whole world. One of the primary game changers that happened in the last 18 months since the Corona crisis started, yes, I think it's 18 months, it was around March 2020, is that network licensing is becoming obsolete. And this is by no means me trying to say, that it's not going to be valid tomorrow or even next month or even next year. But overall, what we are looking at, maybe in the scope of 5 to 10 years, the network licensing will probably disappear. And we can already see some of the key engineering vendors that are trying to push the customers away from the network licensing model. And of course, there is always that nice piece of PR that it's more advantageous, it's more cheap. In many cases, it's not, but we need to give every company, even OpenLM is doing its PR piece. We all are doing our PR pieces to sell our software. So we can see that these vendors are starting to offer different licensing models. They are offering, they are moving away from the perpetual model with paying the yearly maintenance more to the subscription model, where you just pay an annual fee and then you are entitled to use the product. They are moving away from the concurrent model licensing, where you can launch only as many copies of the software as you own towards the named user licensing model, where every single user in your organization needs to have one license, which on one hand, it actually may look simple to manage, but it usually ends up being more expensive. And there is also a reasoning behind this, because as you know, we have lived in the engineering world. We have lived in a world where it was for many years, there was that mantra that all the employees, all the engineers were coming to work on a day-to-day basis. They have been connected to the company network all the time. And this is becoming obsolete. And we can also see it with some of our OpenLM components, where we need to actually think about how to redesign this. We can see that we have customers or prospects or people that we talk to on a daily basis come to us and tell us that, yes, we are thinking of moving our license managers actually from our on-premise network to our cloud network, because right now all your engineers are sitting at home, or most of your engineers are sitting at home. They're not sitting on the company network, because the virtual private network that you are utilizing is probably not built to handle 7,000 CAD designers to upload their drawings in the real time. It's not designed to actually support the PLM infrastructure. Like I said, on a every minute there is a CAD designer uploading a 2-3 gigabyte big file. So we are moving more to a world when people will be sitting at home, or maybe not at home, or they will be traveling the world. The location in the end is actually something that doesn't really matter. What matters is that the services need to be accessible. And that's one of the reasons where we actually see that, yes, the vendors are jumping on this. They are trying to come up with solutions where you don't really need to have a license server installed on premise anymore. You can either move it to your cloud, and I understand there are many security precautions of having actually the license servers running somewhere open on cloud. You can maybe close it a little bit. You can tighten the security, or just eliminate the license manager altogether from the equation. Having exactly like Autodesk is a good example, having the cloud solution where you have a named user. The named user can log into the program, log into AutoCAD, do the authentication with Autodesk cloud license server. It's named user license. You don't really need to worry about it. It may be a little bit more expensive, but this is where the world is going. And the key buzzword where the world is going is cloud. I can honestly tell you that in my mind, I can see that maybe some of these easier applications, like maybe it's not CATIA. CATIA is like still very resource extensive. It's very expensive, but some of the less elaborate tools, let's call them, like I can definitely see that we are moving to a world where you will be able to run an AutoCAD instance or run an Adobe Photoshop instance through your browser. And that gives us at OpenLM and then you as a customers a completely different type of challenge on how we actually move along with this world and make sure that we can still track what the users do. We can still monitor the license utilization. These are all the new hurdles, and there are many questions that will need answers. And we are working internally on many things. We are trying to move forward to actually make sure that we don't miss the train at the station, and that we can still offer you guys all the benefits that you have when you've been used to and accustomed to for the past so many years of using OpenLM. So this is my outlook on where the future is actually going. And once we open the Q&A session, I would really be glad to actually discuss this, because we can see it coming from many ends. But at the beginning, I said that I also wanted this to be a little bit of a PR piece, because we've been working hard in OpenLM to actually be able to become a SAM engineering service provider. So we understand the critical value of the engineering applications. We know that we do have a very good tool that is used to manage and monitor the engineering applications. As if you've been working as the SAM manager or you've been working as the engineering app owner, you know that periodically analyzing the utilization of the applications, and especially at least once a year when you are doing your analysis, because the renewal is coming, or the subscription or the lease is ending and you need to get a new one, you need to know what's going on. Do I need to get more? Maybe I could get less and I could save some money. Am I compliant? Again, a big question. Like I said, we do have a separate webinar, and I think the compliance thing is very often overlooked, and that's not a good thing because compliance is extremely important. And we understand that the cost reduction is the driving force for many companies, especially in these times. Like we all know that what happened through the corona, even organizations where it maybe never happened before were start to be forced to actually look at what is happening with their software portfolio. And we've been working hard, we've been training hard internally, and we would like to offer this experience that we've gathered, that we have, that is residing within our support and services department, to everybody. And I know that there is a little bit of a stigma when it comes to the word managed service, and maybe in many cases, maybe the managed service is not delivered in a high enough level, but we do believe that we can actually do it ourselves. And with that, I'm actually moving towards my last slide. So what do we want to offer? And that's full on management of your engineering applications. We can deploy the tool. If you have our tool, you can already work with that. We can prepare, create either on-demand and periodical reporting. We can prepare what I call the effective license position for the engineering applications, which like I explained, is not going to be based on deployment and entitlement, but it's going to be based on entitlement and how your application is actually doing, analyzing the data, pointing the compliance issues. Again, I think it's a very important topic, and then offer insights on cost reductions. And with that, I'm actually done for today, and I'm perfectly happy that I managed to do it in 20 minutes, and that will leave a lot of time for us to do the Q&A. So this is a contact slide for us. You can contact us by phone, chat, and email. You can go to the OpenLM page /contact-us. You can see, join us on the social media that we have. And then let's move to the Q&A. So I'm actually going to unmute everybody, because if you've been privy to my latest webinars, I like to open up the discussion for everybody so we can talk. But if you want to just do a written Q&A, please use the Q&A system in the Zoom meeting. Regarding the question in the chat from Mr. Gupta, you want the presentation to be shared? That can definitely be arranged. So let me see if I can actually unmute everybody. Don't be shy. Daniel, I can hear you typing on the keyboard.
Okay, so am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Hello,
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, recently we have procured we are in government, so we are using number of engineering softwares, and we want to manage those licenses. So we have been using this OpenLM for last 3-4 months. Okay, so right now we have 5.6. So I came to know that you have come up with OpenLM 21 also. So when we are going to get it upgraded?
Well, you can contact our support team and agree on a timeline for the upgrade. That's all you need.
So
that's all you need to do.
Is it fully functional now, 21? They said
yes, it's fully functional.
Okay. So I want to ask one more question. Like in your slide, you had written that network licensing is on decline.
Yes.
That may be true. Like more and more licensing are, companies are opting for named user licenses, things like that. So yeah, but I saw one functionality about this Adobe Creative Cloud. We have Adobe Creative Cloud licenses with us, and we are finding it very difficult to get the insights and audit logs from the portal of Adobe.
Yes.
Now I want to use it in 5.6. So I was told by your engineers that pretty recently you have removed that option for Adobe Creative Cloud. So when it is going to be available? When I ordered, it was there, but now it has been. I'm I mean, finding it very difficult to manage this. I mean, I can't remove the users. I do not get any insights who is using it for how much time and things like that. So monitoring, if is possible, then I can just get rid of the unwanted users and allot to the users who want to use it.
I understand. So I'm sorry that I cannot confirm to you an ETA when the functionality will be enabled. The problem that why it actually is not enabled right now is because the Adobe changed a way that the authentication is done on their cloud portal. So, you know, the problem that OpenLM is having is loading the entitlements. What you can still do, and I assume that you actually have been using the agent because there is Adobe doesn't use a centralized license server on premise like we discussed. You know, they I don't think they actually even ever use that, but even if they did, they could have moved away from it. But that's besides the point, right? What you need to do is one hand have the entitlement which are on the cloud portal and understand. I was in your shoes before. I was managing in my previous job also the Adobe applications, and but on the other hand, you still have the OpenLM agent, and with the OpenLM agent, you can still at least monitor the processes of the Adobe application. So you can at least get some information to see if the users are using the product. If they are, you at least get that piece of information. That was not removed. The only problem we have with the Adobe Cloud right now is that we cannot load the entitlement. And like I said, I'm sorry, I don't have an ETA on the fix. We are working hard to accommodate because we understand that it's important.
Thank you for the suggestions. Basically, agent is not in my control. Even if I ask the user to install it, and they may uninstall it or stop it,
Yeah,
then I will not get the information.
yes, but without the agent being properly deployed, there is no way for OpenLM, even with the entitlement working, there is no way for OpenLM to actually see what the user is doing. Because like I said, you know, most of the applications that you monitor by default by OpenLM do have the centralized network license manager. Why the agent was developed, one of the reasons for the agent is that in an environment where the network licensing system is not present and you want to expand the monitoring functionality of OpenLM, you want to check on applications that don't have a centralized licensing system, you can use the agent. And of course, there is a functionality in the agent which should prevent the user to actually be able to tamper with it.
Okay.
So you can make it that the user actually cannot stop it on the end workstation if you so choose to.
So from your point of view, like installing agent on each and every machine, where I mean we want to monitor any kind of licenses is a good thing. That is what you're
Well,
telling.
installing the agent is always a good thing if your organization rules do permit that. And we are aware that there can be some blocks because it actually resides on the end user device. But because the agent, even for the network licensing model, even if you have an application like, let's say, AutoCAD or Siemens NX, the agent always gives you extra piece of information. If you are looking at it without the agent, then you can see in OpenLM, okay, this is happening. The application was started from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Monday. You can see that it was running and it was consuming the license because that information in the network licensing model is actually distributed to the license manager and OpenLM is reading it from there. But what if the user was running the NX for 8 hours a day, but he was only working 4 because, you know, for the other 4 hours, he was doing something else. He was, you know, replying to emails, using other cloud solution, browsing the internet, whatever you can think of. The agent is there to actually enable for you to see the comparison between how long the application was running versus how long it was actually being utilized by the user. So it's always good to have the agent. If you have the option, I strongly recommend it. And like I said, we do understand that there are hurdles in deploying the agent, especially for the bigger portfolios, but there is no downside to actually using it.
Okay, we will try that also. In some of the common machines, we will try first.
Okay. Did I satisfy your questions?
Yes, yes. I mean, you have made me understand, okay, some problem is there with the Adobe side. So you're not able to do it. But I was just going through some sites. They're saying that they get insights for Adobe also. I'm not sure. Just don't remember that software is there to get the insights about that Adobe also. So same thing can be done with OpenLM also.
Yeah.
You can do some more research at your end.
Yeah. And remember, with the agent, you can actually monitor any executable. If you want to monitor the usage of your notepad, you can do that.
Acha, you have to mention the application in that. When I didn't try it, I will try it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So next we had Leonardo. I think he was first. Yes, looking at the timestamp, that's 3:22 p.m. So thanks for the presentation. I have a question regarding Dassault Siemens CATIA licenses. So Leonardo, you can either speak or you can just ask the question in the chat. Both ways work for me.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. My question is regarding Dassault Systems, because I know well your product. In fact, in the past, I was implementing OpenLM in a company, and in previous version, there are one option that is available for FlexLM, but not for the Dassault system. Is the agent monitoring to check the activity when the user is running the application. For example, if you're running a license of FlexLM like Autodesk, the user is running AutoCAD, but it's not working, your agent of OpenLM is able to detect the activity in order to show this in reports, but is not able this functionality in the Dassault system, at least in the past. My question is if there are any improve in the last months or for the future for the agent working with CATIA license.
Two things that we are actually doing for CATIA when it comes to the agent functionality. One is that we are working on being able to save and close the CATIA and close the program and save the work based on the certain your predefined thresholds. And B, the idle time monitoring, as far as I know, it should also work for the CATIA process now properly. So yes, you should be able to see the idle time. We have tested the idle time with multiple, even non-engineering related applications. Like I said, we do multiple testing, and Notepad is one of my favorite tools to actually test it, which has no licensing model. It has no license manager or anything, and we can actually project the idle time even from a simple Notepad or Excel application on your computer.
But then now with the current version of OpenLM is able to check this, the activity of CATIA license OpenLM when the user is working with CATIA?
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, if the user is working with CATIA, okay, the
Yes.
user let opening the application and go, for example, for a take a coffee.
Yes.
The agent installed in the machine of OpenLM is able to check the activity like is able in other FlexLM application or not. This is the question.
Yes.
Now is able. Okay.
Yes, you can see the idle time. In fact, the idle time is critical for if you want to use the extended functionality to actually save close the application. That's the idle time represents the threshold. So if you set it for 25 minutes, it will track it. The application is inactive for those 25 minutes, and then it can close it. And you can also see the data stream in the license activity report in the idle column for CATIA.
Okay, clear. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. So we have another question from Brian, which came through the questions and answers. Zoom extension, does OpenLM just report on licenses and usage, or can it also block access to software if there are no available licenses? Can it do idle timeout for users that leave the products open overnight? So it does report on license and usages. You can block access to software. For FlexLM, we actually for FlexLM, you have this thing that is called the option files, and that's where you actually can manually control the flow to the license manager, and you can allow licenses, deny licenses, reserve licenses. You can set limits of the licenses. It's quite sophisticated, and for FlexLM, you can actually control this directly through the OpenLM front end. It does support, and we are evaluating options to actually make this work for other license managers as well. Regarding the idle timeout, I think we have already spoken about it multiple times today. Yes, it can do idle timeout. That's precisely what the agent extension is for. Of course, like you need to understand that there is no way for the system without being extremely intrusive to actually track what is happening on the user's machine. That's why we developed the optional agent extension, which can add this functionality for you, so you choose to use it, but it requires the deployment of the agent on the end user workstation. And this can mean that you actually deploy the agent for all your engineers workstations because you want to have all of the data, or you maybe have just a small group where you suspect a suspicious behavior, or you have a certain business unit, or you just wanted to do it for a certain application. That is up to you to choose. But yes, you can do that. And that is exactly why the agent is there, to detect the people that leave the products open overnight. Because especially with the concurrent model, if you have multi-region licenses or you have global licenses, you definitely don't want to have one user taking the license for 24 hours when it can be actually 2 other users working with it. So I do hope, Brian, that that answered your question. We have another one from Saransh in the chat, but I'm not sure I understand. So what is the scope for ETL practitioners in OpenLM? I'll be honest, I don't understand the question. You may need to elaborate a little bit on that. You need to understand that, OpenLM, when it comes to ETL, is a small organization which consists mostly of people who are developing the product. And the ITS management is done by the IT department, which is very small. As far as the SketchUp goes, I really need to look at that. When you say that they're moved to the named user model, because the named user model can still work as a network license. If it's working as a network license, then yes, we can monitor it by default through the license manager. And again, if not, you can always use the agent to monitor any kind of process on the end user workstation. Any executable of your choosing, you can use it and monitor. We do have another extension which is called the applications manager, which actually works with the agent. And by utilizing the applications manager, you can also monitor a Java-based application or .NET Core-based application. Like you can even do that, because if you have 5 Java applications running on the end user workstation, the executable running on the system would be the java.exe file, and that the agent cannot do itself, but the applications manager actually does allow you to pick the process name java.exe and all the parameters that actually start the application of your choosing. So you can do even that.
I have a question regarding some governance over the monitored licenses. Point is that I would like to understand if finally you are enabling us a bit to assign, for instance, the assets we are monitoring to specific owners of the licenses, because as you said, soon maybe cloud will be the cloud license-based licensing will be the way to go, and we will have a lot of cost owners inside that cloud pools, and we need to know from easy and fast way in OpenLM to say, okay, 20% goes to here, 30% goes to that one, the rest is going over there. So is it possible to somehow in OpenLM with the software asset management idea to do it over the interface?
Well, to do it over the front end without actually a little bit of data massaging, like look, you can what you need to do is and if I understand this correctly, we are talking about having a global license portfolio, but you have different business units, or let's call it different departments. Doesn't matter the name. Yes, which will basically, so you want to see which cost center or which business unit is actually spending how many licenses. So you can do that with the group feature. You can connect OpenLM to your Active Directory or other directory and do it. It's just a partial. and I know it in the front end, but you can use the reporting hub, which is another extension, which actually does a BI for you. And in the BI report, you can.
Yeah, I have those too. I'm
Yeah.
just looking for opportunity to not go to the BI, because in the BI, in the reporting hub schema, you need to enrich that in this step. What I am aiming for is basically now that I have pools of licenses that are shared between 2 or 3 divisions, and I want to, from OpenLM point of view, from the interface, be able to assign that those are the licenses. 2 licenses are belonging here, 2 licenses are belonging there. This kind of information, because if that is in the front, let's say OpenLM is the front input for the data, that will basically come over to reporting hub directly, and I don't need to enhance then the schema.
I understand what you're saying. We don't support that yet, and as far as I know, there is no plan. But if you want to write up a detailed description and just hit it to the support team, we can create a user story for that. But there is no way I can promise the implementation, because the OpenLM frontend is doing a good job on what it's doing. We know that the primary 2 reports that are there, license usage and activity, do a lot of work for many of our customers, and it's definitely not in our capabilities to implement every report enhancement request that we have into the front end. That's why we try to move it more towards the reporting hub. Like I said, feel free to create a user story, but it's not supported right now, and we know that.
I see. Okay.
Or of course, because I don't want to tell you that the simplest way is just exporting the license activity and creating a pivot table. But
no. Don't come back to the Excel.
I know, but that's what many of the customers still do. Like that. This is what we are talking about. It's the same principle as talking about the license automation. Like, would it be amazing if the tool could actually tell you how many licenses can you get rid of, or how many licenses do you need to purchase? And I really want it to be there one day, with the machine learning capabilities that are there in the world right now. Many things come to my mind and to the mind of my colleagues of what we could do. It's a matter of actually getting there. But right now, no, it's not there. So, and if you don't want to go, I strongly suggest the reporting hub. And we have seen that, the reporting hub, there are customers who do connect multiple data sources to that. So they just don't use the schema that we have, but they expand it to get what they want. So
that's the way I was just thinking about how to get that data without basically enriching a reporting hub on my own, just to make an OpenLM database as a single source.
Yeah, I understand. I completely understand what you mean.
Okay, I understand. So the cost, so basically the software management asset will be limited to not provide any kind of owner and cost for the moment.
Yeah, but and then again, and I understand why this bothers you, because it's a lot of extra manual effort. But from experience, it's funny to envision that even the biggest SAM service providers like SoftwareOne, Deloitte, KPMG. I don't want to, just imagine the number, but there is a big percentage of the work they do. They just do it in Excel. Because if you look at any kind of medium or big size company, you can have any SAM tool in the world. In the end, you always just end up exporting it, because the bigger the company, the more intricate the license behavior is, and the applications are bound one to another, and you have so many different products and add-ons, and the licensing that the one license can cover 2 products, when in other licenses can only cover 1 product. So it gets so complicated that the tool, even though it can be very sophisticated, cannot handle it on its own. And that's why there is always the human input required. And then maybe on one hand, it's good, because, it gives us jobs.
That's true. All right. That's all from my side.
Okay, thank you, Daniel, for coming up and talking to me. So we have one more question from Rupesh. Cost-wise, how is comparison between network license and token flex license, especially Autodesk? This this is a question. There is no right answer to this question, especially without me knowing your organization, knowing your users. What are you doing? As a small rule of thumb that you can use is that if you are a small or maybe even a medium-sized company, where you know that your Autodesk users, you have a team that basically what they do is they're dedicated AutoCAD drawers that they use AutoCAD on their day-to-day work. You can do with the fair assumption that they actually need the license for most of the time over the course of the year. Let's say we are talking about the 1-year contract or a 1-year subscription. Then you can do this assumption, but also you need to do the internal analysis. Once you are moving to the bigger companies, and especially to the corporations, I don't think there is anything that can beat the token flex, because in these cases, you still may have your dedicated department called CAT A that is only using AutoCAD for the majority of the work, or they're using Inventor or whatnot. But at the same time, you will have a lot of small on-demand users. Like, let's imagine a facility manager who needs to do a drawing for the new offices, and it's very easy and feasible for him to use AutoCAD for that. But it's very hard to justify to have a named user license for this type of a user, and you need to pay it for the whole year. So in the big companies, the token flex is still the best way to go.
Mm-hmm. One more question in the regard is like when Autodesk is providing this cloud-based licensing, and hopefully and when it's like a point of like token flex, so definitely the complete monitoring system from the AutoCAD for the how much tokens are consumed is in place, and then they will issue the invoice for it based on our consumption of the tokens. So how, or like then by using, maybe it's a little raw question, like by using OpenLM, are we repeatedly doing the same activity like what AutoCAD is doing their own?
With some enhancements. So they are giving you the basic reporting, so you can see how much tokens you used. And I'm not sure if you know how it works on the technical end, but usually they do have what they call the reporting service that is installed on your license server in the token flex system, and it's actually reporting in real time to Autodesk what you're doing. How many licenses are you consuming, how many AutoCAD launches you had today, how many tokens that consumed based on your contract, and it's reporting directly to Autodesk, so they know this information. They can present it in a fairly suitable form. OpenLM does a little bit extra, so it can help you identify. For example, if you are only using one license server, it can help you identify duplicate token usages for your road warriors, for the people that move over the different time zones. That's one thing that it can do. And then again, which is the key feature of OpenLM, the key extension in actually getting the more deep dive, in enabling you to get more information, in enabling you to make the more informed decision is, so yes, I see that the AutoCAD is running for the user, but is he actually using? That's the key question. How much is he using? How much is he idling? This is what you get with OpenLM. That's the extra benefit, even when you are just using the Autodesk token flex license. But yes, we know that Autodesk does provide you the basic token count directly to the board.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Oh, pleasure. Anybody else? We still have some time. I'm going to leave it open.
Another question, like there's a lot of software compliance problems arise, no, in any institute. So we really don't have a control on anyone. So what is the way, like using agents in each and every machine, then we will be able to know if anyone is using any unauthorized thing on their machine?
So there is, again, when it comes to software compliance, there is no one simple magic button or one simple product or one simple extension where you can actually get rid of all the problems. And it's about doing the combination of everything that you can do. So within the network licensing model, what you need to do is, on one hand, you need to 100% understand your contractual obligations. What did you sign with the vendor? How can you actually come to a compliance problematic? And with the engineering vendors, it's usually the contractual obligation define the scope of the license. It may be just because you can only use it in a certain country or in a certain region, or you can only use it to do production work, or you can only use it to do development work, or you cannot or you cannot provide the license to a contractor. It has to be an internal employee. So on one hand, you need to understand this. And we know that OpenLM has right now not the perfect way of actually being able to input this into the system. And it's, again, something that we are actually working on to make it more easy to do. And on the other hand is the data stream, where you need to know who your users are, where they are located. Are they internal? Are they contractors? Are they part of a joint venture where you own more than 50%, and that's why they are entitled to use the licenses? All these things you need to know, and that's the other data stream. So it usually comes from the Active Directory, the users' locations or the machine location for licenses that are not based on the users, but are based on the machines. And then you can run the different reports to actually see when there is a compliance breach. I suggest you watch, I do another webinar, which is called Software Audit Self-Assessment, where I give some nice examples of how to actually do this with OpenLM. But if you are talking also about actually looking for example, cracked versions of the applications, again, OpenLM can actually do that with in the combination of the agent and the application manager. You can define, let's use CATIA as an example, that the application manager with the agent is looking for the launch of the CATIA on the end user computer, and at the same time OpenLM is looking whether the license was taken from the license server. And if these two are a match, it confirms it as a valid launch of the application, because the application was started and the license was checked out. If a start of an application is detected,
but it will be done manually, like
yeah, you need to pick up. It only works of course for the applications that, like, it won't be able to tell you if somebody is playing a cracked game in your network.
Mm-hmm.
That's not like, we are still OpenLM we are looking at the engineering, right? This is not the purpose of the tool. So no, it cannot automatically tell you that somebody is playing games on your network and those games are cracked. No, that we cannot do.
Mm. Okay, so is there any other product from your company, like software asset, so that in the common machines we can install and then we can get some kind of reports?
No, this is not something that we focus on. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right.
So one more thing, other than OpenLM, is it possible for you to, because you are very much proficient, your company is very much proficient in licensing and software compliance thing. So is it possible for you to give a generic talk to our users about this licensing, ethical use of software licenses?
Come again, because I missed like 2 words.
Okay. So I'm just requesting that your company is very much proficient in dealing with the licensing. So if I request you to give a generic talk, not about the OpenLM, but generic talk to the users, like why they should follow the software compliance and what are this thing.
If you mean like a presentation towards
Right.
your user base, yes,
Yes.
that could definitely be arranged. You know, that's why I made this webinar, and we were cooking this internally for a long time, and now I think we are ready to go out with it. That yes, we want to help you. We want to do more than just offer the tool. We want to do consultancy. We want to do trainings, and whether those trainings are tied to our tool, and we also want to help you guide whether it's to guide your license manager to actually do this work, or maybe fill the license manager role ourselves, or just do a general session like a webinar. We can offer that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, this actually went longer than I expected. And unless there is anybody else, I would like to thank everybody for coming. I can see there are many regulars coming to all my webinars, so I really appreciate it. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for opening up your microphones and talking to me. And I wish you all a great day, and I'll see you on another webinar.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.